Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for our update on potential flood conditions in southern and central Alberta. We'll start today with some opening remarks by Environment and Parks Minister Jason Nixon, and then we'll be joined by Lisa Jackson, Executive Director of the Environmental Emergency Branch with Environment and Parks. Over to you, Minister.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everyone. As you all know by now, there are multiple new or upgraded advisories in place for central and southern Alberta regarding river levels, and we'd like to provide an update on the situation and what we expect to see over the next couple days. I'm joined today by Lisa Jackson, who's the Executive Director of Environmental Emergency Management at Alberta Environment and Parks. This afternoon, Alberta Environment and Parks stood up its Department Coordination Centre to help manage the situation. In a moment, Lisa will relay what our River Forecast Centre team is seeing right now and what their modelling suggests we will see as this rain event unfolds in the coming days. I know this is a tense time for many Albertans. This is especially true for communities that were at the centre of the devastating 2013 floods. Well, I realize that having a flood warning or a flood watch in place will be especially difficult for folks in Calgary, High River, Canmore, and other communities flooded in 2013. Please know that Alberta is better prepared than ever for high river events. Since 2020, Alberta has delivered more than 1,500 kilometres of new and updated flood mapping, which is more than the previous 30 years combined. And today I want to thank the hardworking engineers and our municipal partners who have worked tirelessly on that mapping for when these moments happen again in our province as they are now. These flood maps will be extremely important in the coming days as local emergency managers work to keep Albertans safe and prevent damage to our communities. This afternoon, I have been speaking with municipal leaders in Sundre and Mountain View County, as well as leadership of rural municipalities of Alberta. The government has been in contact with the City of Calgary, Alberta Municipal Associations, and several other municipalities, and I anticipate that we will be in contact as well with several other municipalities in the coming days on the leadership side of their communities. While municipal governments typically respond to flooding and other local emergencies through the Alberta Emergencies Management Agency, the Government of Alberta stands ready to assist with the response if needed. To all residents in the affected communities, for your safety, please follow the latest details on river conditions and forecasts in your area. Please follow directions. And if there is a need to evacuate some areas, there is not right now, but if there is a need, cooperate with your local officials who are working to ensure everyone is safe. If you haven't done so already, I encourage all Albertans to download Alberta's River app and Alberta's Emergency Alert app to be kept informed of what is taking place. A theme throughout every emergency Alberta has ever faced is this: we are in it together, we will work together, we are resilient people, and we stand by our neighbours. I will now turn things over to Lisa Jackson, the Executive Director of Environmental Emergency Management for Alberta Environment and Parks, to have a couple words as well as to be able to take technical questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity today to be able to tell people what information we have to help support your flood preparedness. So on behalf of the team, we do have a number of experts working back at the office, crunching the data and putting it together so that we can understand who's at impact and who's at risk. So we're watching a significant rain event come in. We've seen it on radar already, and it's starting to move into the eastern slopes. And as it pushes up along the eastern slopes, and we move upward on the mountains, we tend to see the rain intensify, and we're looking at upwards to 150 millimeters over the next 3 days. So that's extending into Wednesday. The complicating factor is we have an above average snowpack in a lot of the higher elevations, and so once the rain starts to fall in those areas, it intensifies and actually gives us a bit of a worse problem as that snow melt increases the water flow. So we are taking a look, and as the Minister had mentioned, we're working with municipalities to make sure they have the most up-to-date information so they can keep people safe, put into place their emergency plans, and make sure that things are being executed with safety of people and infrastructure in mind. So we're doing what we can to support communities. And as we mentioned, the Rivers app, it has all the updated information because as we get the forecasts coming in and those are updated, we have better information and we're able to provide better and more specific updates. So download that app where you can see the forecasters' comments and you can see where the impacts are expected. And yeah, so that is the information we have. I think the heaviest amounts, we're looking at about the High River area as we're going upstream from there. And we're just working with the communities to help understand what those impacts would be if it results in those levels and hits the community.
Questions now. If you're in the room here, we'll start here. And could you introduce yourself along with your media outlet, and one question, one follow-up.
Sure. So Catherine Grakowski, Alberta Today. Do you know how many people are affected by the watches and how many people are affected by the warnings at this point?
Yes, so we do have, there's 10 high stream flow advisories, 10 flood watches, and I think about on another order of 5 to 6 warnings. And those, keep an eye on those because they could be updated even later today as the information comes in. It tends to be mainly around the Red Deer area and south. And as I mentioned, the information is changing, and I know they're working on some right now, and we'll be seeing some updates further this afternoon that pinpoint the area and identify the people impacted.
And what measures have been taken with regard to like the reservoirs and dams and things?
Yeah, they are preparing for that, and I know there's been a number of models being run to look at how much room could be made in the reservoir, how much could be released without impacting the natural capacity of what the river could hold, because we don't want to exacerbate a problem.
Rachel Emanuel with the Western Standard. Given the investments which Minister Nixon already named, which the city says will reduce the risk of flood by 55%, how likely do you think it is we'll see a situation similar to what we saw in 2013?
Did you want? Yeah, so we are looking at that, and we're paying very close attention to that. You know, the infrastructure was put to be able to mitigate this type of activity, and so that is in place. But what our focus is right now and what we're paying attention to is getting the best numbers, getting the best modeling, having the amounts so that we can deal with that situation. So.
It's a great question. There's been hundreds and hundreds of millions invested in flood mitigation since 2013 it took place. And bigger things, unfortunately, that aren't quite complete yet, but that are in progress, including the Springbank Dam, of course, which was just recently announced. So exactly how much, Calgary could still be impacted, or other communities who have had flood mitigation done to it, is unknown until we go through these moments. That said, what I can tell you, spending some time with the department earlier today, is we feel a lot more confident than they would have in 2013 and the years before that. And we're very happy that we have continued to invest as a province, and municipalities have as well to be able to deal with moments like this. But I don't anticipate that we've got it all done yet. It's just going to take many more years, unfortunately, to complete projects of that magnitude. But we are in a much better spot than we were in 2013.
Sure, and then you spoke a little bit about working with communities. Can you explain a little bit more about what that dialogue looks like?
Sure. As part of the emergency management world, of course, I focus on the environmental side, but we work really closely with the Alberta Environmental Management Agency, and they were talking to the emergency managers within the different communities this afternoon and have ongoing conversations with them and providing whatever support we can as they implement their emergency plans.
And I would add to that, Rachel, that in early days or early moments like this, one of the biggest roles of the Department of Environment and the Government of Alberta is around forecasting and alerting municipalities to what may be coming. We stand on guard, obviously, to be able to support municipalities who are the lead in an emergency with whatever may come. Hopefully, we don't end up in a situation where there's going to be a lot of resources needed, because that means nothing has taken place. That said, we are ready to help municipalities if needed, but right now our primary focus is on the forecast side of things, making sure that our dam infrastructure is ready and that we're ready to be able to respond, to be able to help municipalities as needed.
Thank you. It looks like we have a few callers on the line. Operator, can you put through the first caller, please?
Adam Toy, Global.
Yes, question for Ms. Jackson, perhaps. With all the rain on the way in the next few days, do you have an idea on how that could impact stream flow on both the North Saskatchewan and Red Deer rivers, and how that could affect communities along those tributaries?
Yeah, they're definitely modeling what's happening on the Red Deer River. That one, it's not as vulnerable at this point in time, just due to the ability to control some of that through Dixon Dam and some of the other infrastructures we have in place. But again, we're really keeping a close eye on that. The situation can change very quickly, and so we are watching that to make sure that we're keeping up to date with the information as it starts to play out. For North Saskatchewan River, I don't have information on that right now. It looks like the system is staying to the south, so we don't have information or concerns about that at the moment.
Did you have a follow-up, Adam?
A follow-up for the minister. You mentioned some of the yet to be completed flood mitigation projects, especially for Calgary. Wondering if you've got updates on the feasibility study for the Upstream Reservoir on the Bow River.
So it's extremely important that we complete infrastructure for both the Springbank side for the Elbow as well as for the Bow River to be able to complete all the flood mitigation needed for Calgary. That study has been fully funded by Treasury Board and is being undertaken by Alberta Environment and Parks. We're nearing a point where a recommendation on a potential dam location would be for the Bow. It's a big job to be able to do that from an environmental perspective, and there's going to be some regulatory hurdles along the way. But the department continues to work tirelessly to be able to make sure that eventually we have a piece of flood mitigation on the Bow River. Unfortunately, that won't be completed for this spring, but I want to assure Calgarians and Albertans that this is a high priority for Alberta Environment Parks to complete both of those key pieces of infrastructure long-term for the City of Calgary and for Southern Alberta.
Okay, operator, can you put through the next question, please?
Tony Seskis, CBC.
Yes, hi. I just had one question. In 2013, one of the problems with the flooding was that they washed out the monitoring stations, and so people weren't aware of what was coming down the rivers, particularly in High River. Is the system more resilient to those sorts of conditions than last time? Are you confident you're going to get the information that you need going forward?
Yeah, so that is something for sure. We've been talking to our counterparts about to make sure those are in place. And sometimes the water is very strong and can wash that equipment away. We do have secondary that we can get out and deploy as needed. We have some backups and redundancy. So it's very much on the top of our radar at this time to make sure that we're getting good monitoring information.
Okay, any follow-up?
Well, I guess I would only ask, are you confident that what is in there now will give you the information that you need for this current flood event? Or, sorry, it's not a flood event. For this current situation.
Yeah, and we just, at every point when we do these kind of situations, we use the best information that we have, whether it be modeling or the monitoring data. And, there are some assumptions and some engineering that we can apply to that, and we do. But, I'm confident we have the best information we can, and we'll be making decisions and sharing that as best as we can with communities as well.
Okay, no more questions here in the room. Okay, well, thanks, everyone. Have a good day.